Hey, what's up everyone? On this video, I want to go over some games I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm going to go over 3 specifically that I've been playing on the PS4. The first one is Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. Also known as Project Zero, Maiden of Blackwater. This will be kind of the 5th entry in the Fatal Frame series, because we got the Fatal Frame 1, Fatal Frame 2, Fatal Frame 3, Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, Spirit Camera, a Fatal Frame spin-off, and Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. This game originally came out for the Wii U exclusively, brought to you by Koei Tecmo. I have this PAL region version for the Wii U that comes with an art book, steelbook, and so on. But yeah, I remember that a remastered version was announced on a Nintendo Direct. Mainly because playing this on the Wii U feels very awkward with the gamepad in my opinion. It was later revealed that Maiden of Blackwater will be multi-platform. So yeah, that's great, because playing this runs smooth on the PS4 and PS5. Oh right, I forgot to mention that I do have a physical disc for the PS4, but it does have a PS5 upgrade. And man, I love the fact that the PS5 loading time almost doesn't exist. I also have this game for the Switch. I got these from PlayAsia. But yeah, if you haven't played a Fatal Frame game before, the basics is basically the main character goes to ancient grounds in Japan, and they encounter ghosts due to a failed ritual. You exorcise the ghosts using your camera, which is called the camera obscura. Maiden of Blackwater is no different to that synopsis that I just summarized. I do enjoy Maiden of Blackwater. It's not really my favorite in the series. I think my favorite will fall in between the first and the second game. All the games in the franchise have a good quality, but I favor those 2 the most. In this game you play as 3 different characters, which is Yuri, Ren, and Miyu. Now if you pre-order the game, you will get the Fatal Frame 20th Anniversary Celebration DLC. It comes with a digital art book in game, and you can look at various art galleries and listen to the soundtracks of each game in the series. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Every game that came out in the States. You also get some legacy costumes for each character from previous games. You also get a bonus costume. I think this is a fine game in the series. The only parts that bug me in the game will be when you're reaching for items. You gotta grab items with caution, because there's moments that ghosts will grab you. And honestly, instead of being scary, it becomes annoying to me real quick. There's also 2 chapters specifically that are very long. One of them is the final chapter. But that one makes sense since it brings closure to each of the characters in the game. Your actions in that chapter will affect the ending for each character. But there's this one other chapter. Oh boy, is it a nightmare for first timers. You have to explore this temple, and it feels like you're running in circles. Even if you know where to go in this chapter, it feels like a chore. Other than that, Maiden of Blackwater is a fine game. You get multiple endings. 2 for Yuri, 2 for Miyu, but Ren, he gets 4 endings. 2 for each of his waifus. And speaking of waifus, most of the ghosts in this game aren't really scary. I feel like I'm doing a photo shoot for ghost waifus. Some of them will give you sexy poses. Some of them twirl around and dance. And some of them just fall in love for you. You also get unlockables in the game. Different costumes, different lens. You also get an extra campaign involving Ayane from the Dead or Alive series. It's good to have Ayane. I'm a fanboy of hers. However, unfortunately, she's kinda defenseless in this game. You can't use your shinobi skills. No. For the most part, you have to stealth your way through her campaign. But yeah, I like Maiden of Blackwater. I don't know where I should rate it in the franchise. Most of the games are nearly neck to neck, but try it out if you haven't. The next game is a game that I have no physical media to. It's a sequel to a PC game. This is DreadOut 2. Brought to you by Digital Happiness, famous for the DreadOut series. Most people will label the franchise a Fatal Frame clone, mainly because it involves a camera as combat. I am a fan of the DreadOut franchise, but I could never get too far because I don't play too much on my PC. Anyways, on July 2022, DreadOut 2 was available for the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series. There's also a free next-gen upgrade. I do have the PS4, PS5 version. Now, if you haven't played the previous DreadOut games, there is a recap, but personally I don't think the recap does it justice. I could play it for you, but I don't think you'll get the story.
Once upon a time, there were 5 adorable little mice who decided to go on an adventure together. But they became lost in the forest. And encountered terrifying monsters, the likes of which they had never seen before. She's mine! One by one, the little pests were either eaten, lost, or they simply ceased to be. But there was one mouse who managed to survive and mustered the strength to fell the creatures that stood in her path. However, unbeknownst to the mouse, the monsters she destroyed were not demons, but guardians, protecting the forest from an even more frightening animal, a venomous snake. Now, thanks to that foolish little mouse, the snake is finally free to slither about the forest and spread her poison once again.
Anyways, DreadOut 2 is about our main character, Linda. She's experiencing these nightmares and is blamed for the murder of her classmates from the previous games. The comparison to Fatal Frame stops when you notice you don't encounter really ghosts, but things from Indonesia folklore. I definitely recognize one of them from a movie I saw called Mystic in Bali. It's weird to explain what it is, but it's basically a floating disembodied head, and it's kind of similar to a vampire. It hungers for blood from pregnant women. By the way, I'm referring to the movie and a little bit of the folklore. In game, it gets into spoiler territory, so I won't talk much about it. And instead of using a camera like Fatal Frame, Linda has mystical powers to let her take on these supernatural beings. However, you can't spam taking pictures, no. You have to aim at a specific area at the enemy, and wait for the target to glitch on the cell phone. That's when your target is exposed for a critical hit. You do have light and strong attacks. Light is just snapping pictures normally once you see the screen glitching. Strong is holding the snap button on your target to deal more damage. Your cell phone will be your guide to have tasks on what to do. Look at your pictures on what you took. Fast travel to places you could go. And my favorite, the Ghostpedia. The Ghostpedia will have information in 2 categories. The enemies you encounter in game. This will tell you about them and their folklore. The second category would be urban legends. This is a side mission where you explore and find sightings using your cell phone. This side mission is what makes me interested more in the game. There are segments where your cell phone won't be used, and Linda has to go the melee approach with whatever she finds. And these kills are brutal. Oh my gosh! There is something else that is similar to Fatal Frame. Your cell phone can be triggered by a blue or red aura. The color blue will be hints or information, red will be something hostile. For the most part, the game is straightforward. There are some annoying bosses like the tiger and the floating head, but other than that, it's pretty fun and linear. The game is pretty cheap to get. I recommend it. However, I will say this. The load times will take a while on the PS4, and I experienced more glitches on the PS4. I can't forget this one glitch that I experienced where I overkilled the floating head boss in the second phase. I dealt so much damage that it just got stuck. So I'm like, whatever, let me move on to the third phase. When I found the boss in the third phase, it wasn't taking damage, it just stood there. So I ended up reloading the last checkpoint. Also, I remember I was looking for an urban legend, and I'm like, the stairs are closed off again. I guess I'll go to the elevator instead. The elevator took me to limbo, like what the heck? So, my advice is, just be aware that the previous gen will have bugs. So I will recommend playing the new gen version, which in my case is the PS5 version. There are unlockables, but it's nothing major. It has an epilogue. I kind of like the epilogue because you revisit creatures from the previous games. Also, you manage to come back before the events of the first game. I think it's worth checking out. You also unlock chapter selects, the Ghostpedia, and costumes. The costumes are just outfits that Linda wears throughout the game, so getting these isn't really anything special. But yeah, check out DreadOut 2. The last game will be Ikai. This is a pretty cool indie horror game. I got this on the PS4, also on the Switch as well. This is a first-person survivor horror game that takes place in a Japanese forest, but mainly in a shrine. This game was developed by a studio in Spain, and is quite ambitious. You play as Naoko, which I'm assuming she's a shrine maiden because I'm wondering who this is in the front cover. One day she's having flashbacks about her sister playing hide and seek in her younger days. Her uncle interrupts her and tells her he will be leaving, so make sure to have talismans ready before nightfall. Yeah, in this game you'll be painting to make talismans. As Naoko finishes making talismans to protect the shrine, she goes to prepare the laundry before the sun comes down. She feels a disturbing premises in the area.
Something is going on here. Whichever was the creature lurking in the surroundings, it was looking for me. Sacred blood has been spilled to open the doorway of the underworld. Hence hundreds of demons can come until someone puts an end to the mayhem. Although I don't want to, it is just me. I am alone. The onus is on me to head back to the shrine and protect it. I shall take on the struggle.
She runs back to the shrine and senses that the yokais are taking over. Now, the real story behind the scenes are in these letters you find in the game. It's better not to spoil it, but there's only 3 you need to find to get the real plot on what's going on. The main gimmick for the game is to draw talismans, solve puzzles to proceed in the game, and last but not least, stealth and run as you explore the areas for your life. Ikai is a pretty short game. I think I managed to finish it in less than 3 hours. I enjoyed it. Also, finding the collectibles is fun. There's 3 specific kind of collectibles: objects, yokais, and letters. With that aside, I love the atmosphere, and it does give you an eerie feel the more you progress, especially with the yokais are persuading you. I recommend it, check it out. Out of the 3 games, I don't know, I think DreadOut was the most rewarding to complete, especially if you go out of your way to do the side quests. Maiden of Blackwater is great. It does have replayability since there are multiple endings and unlockables. The only drawback is the long chapters and the annoying grabbing arms that get you every time you interact with an object. Ikai is fine, it's very short and sweet. Alright, that's all I have for this video. These 3 were quite fun to play. I did stream all 3 and it was quite the experience. Feel free to check me out on Twitch. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I am out. Peace.